Number 15, Sam Docherty, the skipper, the co-captain. Costa, this one's just, it's almost hard to talk about, really, because there's just a lot of an unknown. The only thing I'm really certain of is that he's going to be doing absolutely everything in his power to get back on the field. And to be honest, I kind of get this feeling that he will play and it will almost be like nothing happened in the off season. Where are you at? Like, how do you place your expectations, if anything, on Doc this year? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, well, obviously there are things bigger than footy, right? I mean, his battle with cancer was really, really hard to watch as a supporter when we feel for players that play for your club. But in terms of footy, I have no expectations of Doc next year, really. Like I said, things are bigger than footy. He's gone through a really rough patch. And I think the most telling thing was listening to Brian Cook's interview at the end of the season with the fans. And someone asked about Doc and he just said, all Doc ever wants to talk about is coming back to play footy. Like that's all he cares about, which is incredible. I mean, he's going through such a personal, problematic time for him in his life, and all he can think about is getting back to the club and playing. And I'm pretty sure everyone's seen that footage of him and Cripper talking to the group. I'm not sure what that meeting was, but the way he spoke as well about the club and how important it is that the club has made everyone feel so welcome and that you're a part of something that you're cared about, and that's incredible to me. But for 2022, I don't see any expectations for Doc. I just want to see him back out there eventually. I want to see him playing what he loves to do. Obviously, he loves the sport, and just getting back to what he loves, that'd be amazing for him.
Yeah, I think for me, like, you can talk about the moments of 2021, and in a very bittersweet way, Doc and that whole situation was, for me, the story of the year. I mean, obviously, I don't want him to have gone through what he went through, but it was quite powerful to see, the group get around him, obviously shave their heads. A lot of the, players, staff, supporters, shaved their heads and just, showed that solidarity. And it kind of really reminded us about the fact of what you just said. Like, yeah, there are things that are more important than footy. Life, health, family, a lot more important. And I think it was a timely reminder, especially in the landscape that we live in right now, with a lot going on, a lot of information coming and going every day, and stresses and anxieties and whatnot. So I think his legacy is one of someone that it's transcended football. And it's crazy. You did mention, Brian Cook talking about him and how he said, like, no, he's just, I'll be at training as soon as I can. And I think that would be, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not at training. I'm not one of the players, but can you imagine turning up to training, sooking it up for whatever reason, then you see your co-captain just there at training, no hair, had a bout of chemo, and you just, I feel like, I mean, my guess is that situation really would humble the rest of the players to the point of allowing them to be grateful for what they do have, the opportunities they do have. I mean, I'm sure they already are grateful to a level, but just to see the way Doc's around the group straight away, it's like he hasn't really missed a beat. He's probably missed a couple of sessions, and it seems like he's just right there. And I think it's important for him as a leader, but I also think it's important to see what we've created as a footy club in terms of the family and the environment.
100%. The big word for me is leadership. I mean,
yeah,
you can talk about leading from the front, but there are very few people that can exemplify it, and that's exactly what Doc's done. He has shown leadership. There was a photo of him, bald head, on the ground, picking up training cones, helping out the boys. I mean, that's leading through example. That is players playing and putting into perspective that you look over and you see your captain who's just battled cancer for 3, 4, 5 months, and he's there at the training ground helping you out. I mean, how much more dedication can you show? That you can say a captain speech at halftime, you can rev the boys up before the game, but there's nothing like leading by example, and that's exactly what Docherty's done throughout this time. And you can't help but be grateful that he's our captain, because he's shown time and time again that he's a great leader. He's got these leadership qualities that everyone loves talking about, and I just think he's genuinely a person that we'll look back on in 10, 20 years and think back like, wow, this bloke went through 2 knee reconstructions and cancer and then still ended up back on the park. Like, that's incredible. Sometimes you disconnect players from their personal lives and you just see them as these sports people. When you think about that at home, think about you going through something like that, not working for 2 years because of an injury and then getting cancer and then finding a way to come back doing what you love. Like, that's incredible. There's no story like that, in my opinion, and I've never seen it as a young fan. So I'm incredibly grateful. And like I said, for 2022, I just really hope that Doc gets back to doing what he loves and doing what he does best, and that's leading on the footy field as well as off the footy field.
Yeah. You know what's weird to me, or weird or funny? I have no expectations for Doc in terms of possessions and all of this. And for me, and I think for all of us, it's more about him being healthy and getting to a point where he can, live his life healthfully, like all of us. But there's a part in my mind where there's just no doubt he's going to play. I just, such is the character of him and the way he carries himself and the way he goes about it and the way he speaks and just the way he leads by example. There's a part of me that just has no doubt, like, he's going to play, he's going to get through it. And then it sort of starts fueling this story. I mean, the story of the group, there's so many mini stories within the big story of the playing list. But like the vision of potentially seeing Doc lift the Premiership Cup, like, it's just so emotional. If it doesn't happen, that's not the end of the world, obviously. But there's just something about him where I just have no doubt he's gonna beat it. He just seems to beat every challenge that comes his way and get better from it.
100%. After the second knee, when he first did it, I was like, no, we're not seeing Doc back. And then about a month in, I was like, hang on, he's coming back. Like, well, what am I thinking? Perseverance is the way to describe him perfectly. He won't stop until he's back on that footy field, and you know it. I mean, God willing, he gets back to being healthy, and there's nothing else that happens in that time. But we had no crystal balls. But 100%, I expect him to be back on that park sometime this year, and that's just incredible to think of. I mean, the fact that we can sit here and say, yep, he's going to be back, just shows how good of a person he is and how dedicated he is to this sport. And that's exactly what you need in a leader. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, well said. Well said. You guys at home, what, if any, expectations do you have of Doc as a player, as a Carlton person, just as a figure at the footy club? Let us know in the comments below.